Morning. How's everybody doing?
Good morning. Good morning.
Welcome to Breakfast with the Brookses, guys. Good morning, good morning, good morning. If you're just jumping in, do me a huge favor, you all. I want y'all to go ahead and just tag somebody, share this out. Let somebody know that Breakfast with the Brookses is on. We've already gone live on my personal page on Glenn P. Brooks Jr. on Facebook. So if you follow us on Facebook, make sure that you do that. We're getting ready to go live on Instagram. For those of you guys who follow us on Instagram, do me a favor, jump into that chat this morning so that we can also get that. No, we're not yet. But we're going to do that in just a second, and we'll go from there. So good morning, everybody. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Everybody good?
Hey, good morning, guys. How you guys doing this morning? Good morning, Karen. Good morning, Dana. Good morning, Nikkei. Good to see you. Well, we'll see you in a moment.
Yes, we will see you in a moment.
Will we see that you're there?
Yep.
We won't see you, but
what's up, Instagram? Good morning, everybody.
Hey, good morning.
Welcome to Breakfast with the Brookses, you all. We're going to talk a little bit about trust. If you've ever been in a relationship where you have had trust broken, I want you to put a 1 in the chat. If you've ever been in a relationship where trust has been violated on some level, do me a favor, put a 1 in the chat. I just want to know who we're talking to. If you are on Instagram, do us a huge favor and put your government name in the chat so we can tell who that is, because they be tripping me out, man. Mookie 54. It's like, bruh, don't nobody remember your name when you was growing up in your neighborhood, but you and them people.
Right.
So let us know what your name is so that we can address you guys a little bit more personally. What's up, Suzanne? Good morning. Good morning. What's up, Edith? Everybody good? Everybody good? What's up, Tori?
Good morning.
Looks like Tori is on Instagram. Michonne, looks like that's Michonne on Instagram. Let's go ahead and go live on YouTube, and we're going to get this party started, babe. Going to get this party started. Great morning.
Good morning.
What's up, everybody? Everybody good?
Everybody.
That's what they say in the DMV.
Everybody.
I'm telling you right now. Listen, do me a favor, guys. If you are on Instagram and you're on YouTube and you're watching us by way of YouTube, do me a favor. See if you can open up Instagram just to engage that community a little bit. One of the things that we want to tell people who are brand new to the show, if this is your first time, put first time in the chat, please. If this is your first time on, put first time in the chat. Deanna, wow, that's a nice known fact. Michonne is her middle name. I didn't know that, Michonne. Well, it's good to me. Good to talk to you, Deanna. She said that's my government name. So I'm excited. Darnell is on.
That's because we got 2 Michonnes. We got a Michonne on Facebook and we got a Michonne on.
Oh, okay, got it. So that's I got it. So there's 2 different Michonnes. Michonne on Instagram. We have a faithful follower, one of our people in our community. Michonne, she's on YouTube. So we got 2 Michonnes in the building.
So welcome. For those of you that are joining us for the first time, once again, we want to welcome you to Breakfast with the Brooks. If you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please subscribe and be sure to ring the bell so that you will get notifications when we go live and when we post videos. For those of you on Instagram, it's going to say to please go to the link in the bio so that you can go to our YouTube page and subscribe as well.
We're trying to get the 500 subscribers, y'all. So if you can help us get there, I think we're right around 490 or something like that.
Close.
We're trying to get. It's kind of hard to get to 500. I don't know why that is, but be that as it may, if you've not subscribed, do us a favor. Please make sure that you do that. Today's going to be a great topic. Before we get into today's topic, I want to introduce ourselves to people who've never been on. So Cherie and I are relationship coaches. Together, we've written 7 books. We're overdue for another one, and I've been putting it off, but we've got one in the hopper that's dealing with marriages and people who are married and in business, or people who are couples and they're in relationship really long term, or they're married, but they also do business with each other. That's a whole dynamic that we've been getting a lot of questions about. How do we do that? How are we able to succeed in both business and marriage? And we don't really sacrifice one over the other.
Right.
But there's some principles, and we're going to write about that. We got a book coming out later, probably this year, and we just haven't really been on that page yet. So we're super excited about that. But we've created an online group coaching platform, guys, for those that don't know. It's called MAPS, Marriages and Parenting Successfully
Relationship Academy. And in the MAPS Relationship Academy, we have group coaching sessions where we meet with married couples, with singles, with parents, with women individually, and as well as men individually. And in those groups, we're able to deal with specific relationship issues that you deal with. We drill down on some of the topics that we talk about here on Breakfast with the Brooks. We get way more intentional, in our conversations about the topics and really drill down on helping provide people tips and strategies on how to succeed in those areas.
Yeah.
And so if you are interested in growing your relationship, if you're having struggles in your relationship and you want to grow, if you realize that you have some areas of personal development that you want to grow in that affect your relationships, please come and go to www.thecrcoach.com and sign up for a free discovery session where one of us will meet with you. We'll have a quick chat. There is a questionnaire that you'll need to complete when you schedule your appointment, just to give us some information.
Yep.
And we'll chat with you and see if we're fit, if
Yep.
we feel like we can add value to you. And if so, we will invite you to come on into one of the groups.
Well, guys, listen, really quickly, I want to say welcome to Michael. Michael, I can't pronounce your last name, brother, on YouTube.
Michael T.
Michael T. How
Welcome.
about that? Welcome. Y'all give Mike a big hand. Y'all welcome him on YouTube and show him some love. We also want to say thanks again. I think my brother Danielle from South Africa. I'm sorry. No disrespect. Tuning in for all the way across the water. No, it's way across. Yeah, it's way further than that. Great to have you guys on. So let's get into it a little bit today. What prompted this conversation, babe? I want to start there. We have people in our MAPS Relationship Academy who we coach, and people that we coach outside of that academy who we coach personally one-on-one, that tend to go through major challenges when it comes to rebuilding trust.
Right.
Once trust has been violated in a relationship, it is difficult to get back on track. It's really, really tough, and it takes a significant amount of work. Most often, it's going to take some kind of intervention and we call them a referee, a coach.
Right.
Depending on how traumatic the issue is, you may need a therapist, somebody that can help you guys kind of objectively navigate that. But we're going to talk a little bit about that this morning. One of the things that I love about our Relationship Academy is we get a chance to meet people face to face. We know their very specific situation, and we're able to help them drill down and get there. So let's talk about our situation just real quick so that we can give people some background.
Right. Well, first, I want to state that, in every relationship, there's going to be something that happens. You're two human beings. At some point in time, somebody's going to do something that the other person is not going to like, or that, it's just human nature. You're going to violate a person's trust. There are varying degrees of breaking a person's trust. And so it can be something minor. I went and bought something without telling you.
Right.
Or it can be something big, such as infidelity in a relationship. But in every relationship, there are degrees of trust is essential in a relationship. And if you don't know how to rebuild it when it is violated, when it is broken, it can lead to the demise of the relationship. But I do believe that when both parties are willing, it's possible to come back from that. I know for me, as Glenn has stated earlier, for those of you that don't know, I was married 2 times prior to our marriage, and in both of those former relationships, and even in my long-term relationships before then, there was infidelity on both parts in some of the relationships. And because of my inability to forgive and to move on from that, it kind of turned into, I know for me, in one particular relationship, my partner committed infidelity, and my response to it was, well, I could do the same thing.
Yep.
And so, we went through this cycle of they gonna do it, I'm gonna do it. They gonna do it, I'm gonna do it. And it wound up leading to, that helped to erode. That wasn't the only issue, but that was one of the major issues that led to the erosion of that relationship, because I didn't understand about forgiveness. I didn't understand that you could get past that. You hear people say, that if you cheat on me, I'm done. That's it. It's not always cut and dry.
Right.
Sometimes people are going through their own issues.
Yep.
Like I said, there are varying degrees. If this is, something that's ongoing and this is just who that person is, that's something you need to look at. But sometimes people just have a moment.
Yep.
And that doesn't have to define your relationship.
It doesn't have to. And babe, but one of the things I want to interject, because when you're talking about marriage, and we're going to kind of focus on marriages today more so than just couples in general. And one of the things that we have found to be really, really true, there are 5 different areas that you need to move through in order to rebuild trust. And we're going to talk about those today. We'll probably not get really deep. We'll probably have to do a part 2. I certainly want to talk about how this looks for people who are in single relationships, because I think that there is a misnomer in single relationships that cause them to move as if they're married, and it causes them to now take options that are theirs off the table because they've not subscribed and embraced being their singleness inside of a dating relationship.
Right,
if that
because
makes
you have
sense.
different options when you're
You have
single
very
than you
different
do when
options
you're
when
married.
you're single versus when you're married. Now, no one wants to break trust. No one wants to be misunderstood. No one wants to, break with the kind of fidelity that you have in a relationship. But when it happens, the question becomes, what do you do then? So I'm going to address that. But one thing I do want to say, even before we go there, guys, is this: is that if you are married, listen to me really, really closely, and you have a problem forgiving, that is not something you either do well. It's not something you're used to. It's not something that you've been taught. It's been modeled. I'm going to promise you, you are going to struggle throughout your marriage.
Right.
And the reason why is not because of, there may be some cheating involved, but because in every marriage, you're going to have reasons to forgive somebody.
Right.
Does that make sense? So we've been married for 21 years in a row.
Right.
And as much as it may seem for other people that, it's like, wow, they got it going on, or you say these kinds of things, I can promise you in some areas and in some seasons, yes, that's true. But then there are other areas and other seasons where we have gone through the thick of it. And we talk about that, particularly in our relationship academy. We really get really butt naked with our stuff, because I think it's really important for other people to see your stuff so that they can navigate through. But for the sake of time, I just want to let you know that you're going to go through stuff that you're going to have to figure out what does forgiveness look like in that marriage.
Right, and it's funny that you mentioned that, because I don't think people think about that when they get ready to get married. When they're getting into a relationship, do I have the ability to forgive?
Yeah.
And
is that something I'm even willing to do?
You just expect this person to always, they're never going to do anything. They're never going to hurt you. They're never going to do anything wrong, and that's unrealistic.
Right.
And so, like I said, there are varying degrees of things that can be done, which you have to forgive for. But whenever you bring two people together, somebody, I'm going to do something. I'm going to step on his toe. I'm going to do something. Or he's going to do something at some point in time that I'm going to have to forgive him for, or he's going to have to forgive me for. But if you have not practiced that, or if you are not open to forgiveness, then you're going to have a very challenging marriage, because you're going to hold things. You're going to have this whole record of wrongs you're going to be holding. And that creates havoc in a marriage, because when you're talking about spending the rest of your life with somebody, if you got this stuff constantly looming over you, it's very hard to move forward.
It's not going to go well at all. So here's what I want y'all to do really quickly. I want y'all to put there are 5 things that you need to know in order to move through trust. Put somebody scribe for me if you can. 5 things you need to know in order to move through rebuilding trust in a relationship. For those of you guys who are interested in joining our MAPS Relationship Academy, you want to find out more information about that, I want you to go to www.thecrcoach.com. www.thecrcoach, it stands for Constant Relationship Coach.com. You want to sign up for a free discovery session. Cherie talked about that a little bit earlier, of which we can get back to you and we can figure out if we're a fit and we can help you there. But here are the 5 things that you need to know. Number one is knowing the details. Knowing the details. Guys,
now, what do you mean by knowing?
When I say know the details, here's what I want you to do. When it comes to being able to rebuild trust, you can never assume. Put that in the chat. Put that in the chat. When it comes to rebuilding trust, you cannot find yourself in a position where you're having to assume. You have to know the details. You got to have your facts straight. Because one of the biggest challenges is in relationship is to hit a moving target.
Right.
Does that make sense? You're trying to get to the bottom line of an issue, and that thing keep moving.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? Somebody keeps dancing around something. If you can't get all the details, then by default, you're going to be moving in assumption, and that's always dangerous, particularly if you're trying to get to rebuilding trust.
Right. Now, I do want to add a little disclaimer in regard to that, and this is for mainly women. I mean, because we kind of think this way. When he says know the details, so if your spouse has committed adultery, this does not mean you need to know all of the dirty, nitty-gritty details of that affair.
Right.
You don't need to know that.
Right.
You just need to
That's
know
traumatizing.
that it really
Yeah,
happened.
right.
You don't, but you do not need to know all of that, because at that point, those are images that you are now planning in your mind that it's very hard to get past that. So you don't need to know all those details.
Right.
You just need to know the facts.
I know people who've gotten married and have almost, well, now are separated
Mm-hmm.
because of an assumption
Right.
that's never been validated.
Right. Right.
He assumes, based upon how he thinks she's moving,
Right. That is something.
that she's had an affair.
And she is saying.
And she is saying, I
didn't.
absolutely have not. He has no facts.
But
he has this sixth sense.
Because he believes it.
Because he believes it. Now it's real, and he's moving towards separation and then ultimately divorce because he believes this to be true when he doesn't have any facts on that whatsoever. We've also met couples where that situation is reversed.
Right.
Where she is done. I know you did this. My girlfriend told me that you was with so-and-so, and that was right about the time that I was calling you, and I remember you said that your phone died, and that was right about the time. And I'm like, I know his phone didn't die because I was on the computer and I saw it pop up, and this, bruh.
Don't live in assumptions.
That is dangerous.
Don't live in that world. Get the facts. When we say details, we mean get the facts. Make sure you have evidence for whatever it is the issue is. You need to have concrete evidence. Don't walk around mad at somebody, or you get an attitude based on assumptions.
Yep.
And now you're not going to forgive them over something that you perceive happened, that they're saying clearly didn't happen, or they didn't do, or they didn't intend to do, or whatever, and you done gone way left.
Right.
Left.
Right. Yeah, that's left.
Left. You done gone
other left.
way left. And there's no evidence.
Right.
You have nothing. It's just a feeling that you have.
Right.
You know,
a premonition that you had. The Lord gave you
had
a dream. Bruh.
And you was cheating on me because I dreamed it last night.
Because I woke up and I was in a sweat and I was just feeling. I felt like the Holy Spirit.
You'd be amazed the stories we
Oh
get.
my gosh. And so people will over spiritualize that kind of stuff, and it's ridiculous because at this particular point, you are now dealing with someone's psyche at this point.
Right.
And now this person is legit telling the truth, and you don't have facts. You're making an assumption, and quite frankly, you're going to make a lifelong decision based on how you feel, not on what's factual. So I need y'all to understand that. Appearances can absolutely be deceiving, Dana. Yeah. And here's one of the things I know, guys. There's three sides to every story. Three sides. I want y'all to always remember this. There's your side, there's their side,
and then there's the truth.
And then there's the truth. Y'all hear me? When Sheree and I coach people, I never practice siding with people.
Right.
As a coach, I side with truth.
Right, because everybody, your side, my view of the situation is my perception. His view of the situation is his perception. You need to bring a neutral person in to hear both those perceptions to get to the truth.
And sometimes that's absolutely true. I ain't messing with you, Christopher. Talking about Shaggy.
It wasn't me.
It wasn't me.
It wasn't me.
Don't even get me. Hey, don't get me started, Chris. I ain't messing with you this morning. So that's number one. So knowing the details is critical, and we're going to come back to some of the stuff, and we're going to kind of break the stuff apart. And one of the things I want to do is, if you are struggling in this area and you are in a relationship that you value, I mean significantly, and y'all can't quite move past this idea of trust, you may need to get a third party. Sheree and I'll be more than willing to sit and listen to what you're going through and what's happening and see if there's a way that we can help you shoot the gap. Let me tell you why that's important. It's because facts are objective. They're never subjective. It's never an opinion if something is factual. Does that make sense? Last time I checked, Emmitt Smith is the NFL's all-time leading rusher. That is a fact. It's objective. You can't argue that. Well, I don't believe that's true. It ain't got nothing to do with what you believe.
Look at the stats.
Gravity is a fact. If I jump out of this fourth floor window,
I'm not going to float up in the sky.
I am not going to go up. I'm going to go down. Does that make sense, guys? So at this particular point, the truth of the matter is that you have to know facts so that you can begin somewhere. So I want you guys to really, really, really hear that. So number two is this is where it's going to be tough, and this is a process. And guys, we're rattling through some of these because I want to establish some context for what we're going to go back and deal with. But Sheree, number two is you're going to have to release the anger.
Right. And I think a lot of times when people do things, we take it personal, number one. And when we take it personal, we attach our emotions to it. Okay, so there was a situation in our relationship years ago.
Me and yours?
Yes.
Here we go, y'all.
I went out and got an American Express credit card without telling him.
You did what?
I got an Amex credit card without telling him.
Y'all know Amex don't be playing with their money.
Like, well, what's the big deal? Well, considering we're married, that was a discussion we should have had together. And also, I ran it up. Now, initially, I was using it, paying it off. Then things started shifting.
For those of y'all who don't have an Amex, they want their money every month.
Every month. It was that card. It wasn't the one where you could pay
it ain't rolling the stuff over,
Right. And so we got to the point that we were having some financial challenges. Glenn was in ministry at that point in time, and the church was taking some financial hits, and so we experienced some financial challenges because of that. And I wasn't able to pay the bill. So at that point in time, then I tell him, hey, I've racked up this bill, and these people.
Was it a couple $1,000?
We're
not going to talk about that.
I wasn't able to pay it.
I'm over
and I wasn't buying frivolous stuff. It's just I was just spending. It doesn't matter what I bought.
Right.
It doesn't matter. The point was that I had not shared that with him.
Yeah.
And for him, initially, it was the fact that I had broken his trust because I hadn't told him. But he could not stay in that place. He was disappointed in me. He was bothered. But he realized that was something, that was an issue. Something was going on with me that I felt that I could not, number one, talk to him.
Right.
He realized that there was a reason, something was going on why was it that I wasn't able to talk to him? It wasn't about him being angry with him. It was like, okay, let's get to the root of this. What caused this?
Yeah.
Why are you in this place?
Yeah.
But if he had just stayed angry and been mad and be like, I'm not talking to you, I'm just gonna take the finances from you.
So let's for context reasons. Hey Liz Correa just jumped on Instagram. Do me a favor, guys. Instagram, click that arrow at the bottom of the screen. Share this out. YouTube, y'all share this out whatever way you can. Here's what I want y'all to understand. Cherie, from the very onset in our marriage, is the keeper of the finances. Just so that, and we don't mind being transparent with you guys. We're that way anyway. So telling y'all will help you understand this context. In our household, both personally and in our business, Cherie runs every single aspect of our finances. Why? Because she's better at it than me. And she is meticulous. For those of you all who've ever taken the 4 animals assessment, the DISC assessment, she is a turtle. She's a high turtle. She's a high chameleon, meaning she's not only systematic and analytical in her approach when it comes to systems and putting things together, but she's super detailed. She's buttoned up. So she thinks like an accountant, and she moves things that way. If I ran the finances in our house, we would be homeless because I would spend everything. She's the saver. So we determined earlier on, and plus when we met, I was in some really ridiculous debt, but I was making some ridiculous money.
And just was mismanaging.
And was mismanaging stuff all over the place. So I knew for a fact if we were going to get any kind of headway, she was going to have to run the finances.
Right.
So when she goes out and she gets this credit card, and our rule was that we had a business meeting every week. It was a business meeting. Basically, we would sit down. She would go over the finances, where we were, what was going on, what was happening. And I would get, obviously I'm going to get a say, and we budget together and all that. But there was no 2 people wasn't writing checks, wasn't 2 people swiping cards, none of that.
Right.
So when she goes out and she gets a Amex card without saying anything, and then starts running this thing up without saying anything, unbeknownst to me, of course, because I don't look at this stuff. To this day, I don't look at our finances. I just go out and do my part and do what I do, and she manages the back end, and we have meetings. Well, when this happens, I'm sitting here saying I'm getting a bill for a card that I'm like, what the ham sandwich is this? And so imagine how betrayed I feel because we had agreed that this is how we were going to handle this. Does that make sense, y'all? So when that's the case and that kind of betrayal or that kind of trust is broken, of course, at this point, I was super angry. For those of you guys who are just coming on, we're talking about how can couples rebuild trust in a marriage. Number 1, you have to know the details. Number 2, you have to release the anger. I was angry.
Right.
I mean, seething. And the reason why, y'all, is because I felt like I was being purposely left in the dark.
Mm-hmm.
I was being purposely left out of the conversation. And because, so that y'all know, I took a 70% pay cut from my corporate gig, which I was making well over 6 figures, to go into full-time ministry. So everything was super tight. So I'm not a money person. So when I hear this, I'm like, what are we going to do? Like, I don't have a way to just make that kind of money up. So I was angry for those kinds of reasons. And I need y'all to understand that when that level of trust is broken, y'all going to have to do something with that. And that anger has to go somewhere.
Right, because out of anger, his first response was like, well, I'm going to take over the finances. And it's like, no. I made a mistake.
That was an angry move.
Right. Because,
not a smart move.
Because oftentimes when you're not able to release the anger, number one, you make rash decisions.
Yep.
Which may not be beneficial for you or for the marriage. And so in that particular situation, his rash decision for him to take over the finances would have been a very rash and unproductive decision. But we were able to go back to number one, which was getting to know the details. And I was like, explain to him how things had really gotten, where we were and why I had done it.
Yep.
And I had a legitimate reason, but I just never had the conversation with him.
Absolutely. So there was a very legitimate reason why you even did it.
Right.
But what we discovered in that conversation, babe,
was that I was having trouble communicating with you, and that was the real issue.
Say that again for the people
issue,
in the back.
Right. The real issue was that I was having trouble communicating with you because I knew you had this faith in me that I was able to handle everything. And my thing always been like with the finances, if I got something to work with, I can work it. I mean, because I was a single parent before. So
and let me tell you something right now.
I can work magic.
Y'all are monsters when it come to working stuff.
Juggling all that, but when I don't have nothing to work with.
Now it's like, what am I going to do?
And so I had to go outside to get something to work with, but I didn't tell him that.
Right. And she didn't tell me that she was floating this, to do that. She already knew the dates and this, that, and the third, but she missed something. And so that brought us all back to, stop laughing, Liz. Liz is talking about homeless. No, we would have been on the street. I'm telling you right now. And it's funny because in my anger, I was like, well, I'm going to do it because I don't trust you. Put bad move in the chat. Put bad move. See, that's when your anger, when you do not release anger, you will do stupid stuff. Right. The move was not, guys, for me to take over the finances because I wasn't going to all of a sudden become good at what I was bad at.
Right, because
I was pissed off.
Right.
Because I don't trust you no more. So the solution to that is you can't handle it. I mean, what are we in 5th grade here?
Right.
You get what I'm saying? So at this particular point, what I really understood then was that when we got to it, I'm so grateful that we worked that out because it improved our communication skills. Right. On a level that's like we've built on that since then. That was almost
10, 15 years ago.
More than that. 17. That was probably 3-4 years in our marriage. That's when that was right. No, it was about 5 years in our marriage because we had sold the house. Had we sold the house we were living?
We were in Atlanta.
No, we weren't in Atlanta yet.
Yes, we were.
No, we wasn't, babe.
Yes, we were. It was after we were in Atlanta.
Okay, so we were more than 5-6 years in.
We went to the gas station and we ain't had no money for gas.
Oh Lord Jesus, we're not gonna go there because that's a whole nother problem. Right. So bad move. So anyway, I digress. Anyway, so here's what I want y'all to put in the chat: release the anger. Right, release the anger. Right. No accountability can cause a sense of I got this. Right. Nikkei, please say that for the people in the nosebleed section. Mm-hmm. Listen. The reason why accountability is important, the reason why, although she ran the finances and she was good at it, and I trusted her to do so, the accountability says there's a checks and balance system that allows you to have to explain what it is that you're doing with our stuff. Right, and that leads us to the next one, which is showing commitment. Number three, put it in the chat. Showing commitment. And so for us in that particular situation, my showing commitment at that point was like, okay, now I'm going to check off with him on everything and let him know what I'm doing financially so he knows how I'm moving so that he can see what it is that I'm doing. So now, because I'm the one that violated the trust, now I have to regain his trust. So I have to show him better than I can tell him that I'm sorry, and I have to show him by my actions what I'm doing differently. Yes. In order to correct the situation. We're going to land the ship today right at this one. We're not even going to get to parts 4 and 5. We're going to do that next week because I want to go back and I want to unpack some of what you just said. Okay. Guys, listen. Cherie just said, and I'm going to make sure I got this, because you were the person that crossed the line.
Right.
It is your responsibility to show commitment.
Yes.
To rebuilding the trust.
Right.
So whether that's finances, whether that's infidelity, whether that is a text that came through your phone. I had a couple that I was coaching last week on a coaching call. We had a one-on-one session, and it was an emergency. We in our group, they know there's a time where you throw out a lifeline. You're like,
Right.
Coach, I need an emergency session.
Right.
And trust me when I tell you, we make arrangements to do that. And so we have an emergency situation. And one of the things that I identified really quickly was that in them having these trust issues, the problem really was that they weren't communicating.
Right. Right.
And so the other part of that is that they had not taken responsibility, but they had not taken the assessment. They didn't know their personalities. They didn't know anything. And it just dawned on me as I was talking to them. So one of the things that I realized, guys, was this. If I could get them to communicate better, we don't have an issue.
Right.
And so this is where you have to be accountable and you have to be able to show commitment. And this is where I get to check whichever one was the violator, for lack of better terms. Yeah, you got to get checked.
Right.
So it is your responsibility.
You have to be accountable at that point in time.
And the way that looks, babe, is that, guys, let me say this so that y'all are clear. And I know there are people, and I don't want to minimize or trivialize this issue. There's some of you all right now, you're going through something where you're ready to make a decision. Do I divorce this joker? Do I leave this joker? Because right now, I don't know if this trust can be rebuilt. And here's a telltale sign. Listen to me very carefully. You have a problem in your relationship that is teetering, not being able to be rectified, when you have a person who refuses to show commitment towards rebuilding that trust.
Right.
And here's what I had to do in this particular situation. I had to challenge this couple, do me a favor. Here's the commitment, because they both were wrong.
Right.
Both of y'all need to change your phone numbers.
Change your circle of friends.
Change your circle of friends. And you need to come off of social media immediately. Now, just like there's silence in this room, there was silence on that call. I said, look at me. You guys are married. You have children that you're responsible for. And you both have issues where you are not communicating properly because of outside noises and influences from your circle of friends who are really, really super bad influences of which you both can admit. And you both realize that it's trivial because you now go off of what you're seeing and hearing. You're putting two and two together that don't add up. So here's a quick fix to that. Change your phone number.
Right.
Why are we having this problem?
Right. So just to put this in context, so if I'm having a conversation with somebody from my past, I've been having inappropriate conversations.
Right.
And Glenn finds out about it.
Right.
Or I come and tell him, whatever, however. The trust has been broken. I let him know. It's my responsibility to do whatever I have to do so that he can trust me. And so if that means I need to change my phone number, if that means I need to give him full access to all of my email, voicemail,
1000%. Let's get it.
So that he can see what messages are coming back and forth, whatever I need to do.
And you're initiating that.
Right, and I initiate it so that he can see that I'm attempting to rebuild that trust, that I'm doing whatever it is. Look, I'm not doing nothing. I made a mistake. I had an inappropriate conversation. I was having a mental moment.
Yep.
It happened. It's nothing more than that. But now, number one, I'm being accountable, because if the person ever calls me again, the first person, number one, I'm not taking the call.
Right.
But even if I see the call, I'm calling him and be like, look, so-and-so just tried to call.
Absolutely. And go ahead.
At that point, and if it becomes something, the person, I need to change my phone number. I do need to do whatever, but I have to take the onus and the responsibility of that, because I'm the one that did something that violated the trust. So like I was saying about our situation with the whole finances, at this point now, I had to check in with him weekly. Yeah,
because we were already doing weekly, I think.
We were doing monthly.
We were doing
monthly meetings. So now it was weekly. It was like, okay, this is where we are. This is how I'm looking at. I'm going to pay this. I'm not going to pay this now. And he'd be like, no, well, let's pay that instead. And he would help me. I got his input, and also I was letting him know exactly what was going on in the finances and how I was repairing the problem I had created. No,
and I think that what happens is when the person who was the violator takes the responsibility of showing that commitment, what it does is that it eases the angst in the room for the person who looking at you side-eye and suspect, because now you're willing to be vulnerable. You're willing to be transparent. You're willing to be upfront. Whenever that happens, trust gets to come back into the room because you're now doing it. Like, so for instance, as a result of that incident back then, I remember, babe, that you put me on accounts that I wasn't on because it wasn't convenient. When you opened it, I remember when we dealt with utilities, different things that you just kind of opened up because it was quicker and easier. You started putting my emails or stuff, and it got to the place where you showed so much commitment towards changing, I couldn't take it anymore. I'm like, can you take my name off this stuff, please? Y'all listen, let me tell y'all something. I am 99% lion and I'm 99% flamingo. What that means is that I'm also 39% chameleon and 25% turtle. I have a disdain for details. It rubs me the wrong way when you start talking too many details with me. I just can't do it. But for so long, I got about 25% capacity in the area of being systematic and analytical. I can have that conversation with you. I got about 25% energy for you. And once that's gone, we can't talk no more. Well, this 25% had gone to, I'm like, bro, okay, you got it. You got it, babe. Just go ahead on and execute. Just tell me when the baby's born. I don't need to know how long it was, what it weighed, how many toes it's got. Was it healthy? And is it here? Right. That's all I need to know. Okay, so when's the party? Because the flamingo wants to go have a good time there. Does that make sense?
Right. I wanted to address one comment that I just saw on the feed. What if the person who has violated trust is not willing to increase accountability because they don't see it as a violation? Then that's a whole nother issue.
That's a whole nother issue, Suzanne.
If they are not willing to acknowledge that they've done something wrong, that's a whole nother issue. And this is based on you're having the facts that this violation did happen.
Right.
And you're able to present the facts to them, and they're still denying it. That's a whole nother issue.
Now we're talking about, listen to me carefully. That's a great question, Suzanne. Guys, let me tell y'all something just to ramp that up just a little bit, because we're going to get out of here for the day. Guys, listen, when you have a person who, when presented the facts of a situation, holds out that it wasn't them.
It wasn't me.
You got facts. You're not, this is not hyperbole. You're not making this up. Your sister and them didn't say, no, look, I walked into the room and caught you, or that kind of stuff.
Right.
When you can validate something, now you're dealing with a whole nother slate of issues, of which you need to create a significant boundary that creates such a separation that it makes that person either do one or two things: get right or get out.
Right.
One of the two. And when I say that, listen to me. So
at this point, you're dealing with integrity.
Not only are you dealing with integrity at this particular point, well, now you're dealing with, and I'll be honest with you, this goes past narcissism. You're starting to deal with sociopath type stuff. Where they going to look you in the face and just tell you that they didn't do it and you need to move on and you crazy. So when it gets that crazy, I'm telling you right now, you need to draw a line, and that's a whole nother, we could do a whole nother talk just on that alone. That's a boundaries issue. And quite frankly, if you do not put those kinds of boundaries up, you set yourself up in a major way. And the problem is that you're not going to get them to change if you don't put them kind of boundaries up immediately.
Right. And I just want to go back to make sure that you have the facts. Make sure you are not seeing something and seeing it as something that it may not have been. So just because I'm going to just use, so somebody, your girlfriend called you and tell you they saw your husband out to dinner with somebody. And there was an example. We ran into somebody who was out to dinner with a female. Now, I could have called his wife and been like, hey, I just saw your husband here with a woman. It was a business meeting. But if she took that, and I could have took pictures and everything and sent her pictures, just picture him with her. Just because, make sure what it was is really what you think it was. Make sure you know all of the details, know all of the facts, because oftentimes we'll get one piece and we'll run with it.
I got you, Suzanne.
So if it was something that you do know clearly was a violation, and the person is not willing to acknowledge it, they're not willing, like I said, that's a deeper issue. That's more than just trust at that point that you're dealing with.
So Suzanne said, and I appreciate you clarifying this, Suzanne, because I certainly want to speak to this. She said that in the example that you have, Cherie could have easily just said, well, I needed the space to handle these finances, and I don't see that as a violation. And here's the deal. And here's the deal. She could have said that, Suzanne. And here would have been the challenge, because now we're having a conversation around facts.
But that,
let me deal with one thing, and you certainly can chime in. One of the reasons why, and we talked about it before, we said that first of all, you have to know the details. Right. Number one, the details around that is that Cherie has always had more than ample space and room to do what needs to be done.
Right.
The fact that I got all of the details unveiled the fact that Cherie made a move out of fear, and she wanted to fix an issue for us without telling us. But that was because I did my due diligence on getting to know all the facts. Right. And so because of that, I was able to now legitimately feel betrayed, because at this particular point, and then when I expressed, babe, I understand why you did what you did. I understand that you felt like there was a need because we didn't have it, and you needed to just, quote, make it happen. But here's the problem. The problem is that you excluded me. And you didn't give me the liberty of jumping in there with you to help you make that happen. And as a result, I'm now on the hook for you making it happen and making a very bad decision. Now, you may not see that. I'm going with what Suzanne said. You may not see that you violated anything. You may not see that that was out of bounds. But let me tell you how this has made me feel. Listen to me very carefully, guys. Now I just switch gears. It ain't about what they see now. Right. Because what they did, you're now talking about how it's affecting you. Right. As a result of what you did, babe, I now wonder where, and so here's the other part. Then when I start asking even more questions, I'm seeing even more discretions, issues, things that well, what is that? Well, I forgot to tell you. Now this is issue number 2. And did we pay our tithes over here? Well, now I've been holding that we ain't paid our tithes in a month, and we agreed together we wasn't gonna rob God. Oh, that's a violation, right? For me. So I don't know how you roll, but I can't have God opposing me now. This is what I ain't messing with you. Right. That's what made me say I'm taking these finances over, because I'm scared. Now I'm saying, okay, God, we are in violation of your principles. And that's how we agreed to run our home. So at that particular point, and I hope I'm answering this for you, Suzanne, the truth of the matter is that it's in that step 1 that I identified the real issue. And that is, I've gotten the facts on what's really going on. And this is where, if you cannot do that objectively, you need to get somebody in on the front end to help you kind of see this from both sides, because I do believe that there are people that will come down on the same side of the fence, on different sides of the fence, different sides of the same fence, and one will say, well, I just don't see it that way. Right. And now you got this issue that's bigger than it has to be.
Right, and I think that goes back to a lot of people when they, and just dealing with finances, when people get married, their finances don't get married.
Say that again.
You got yours, I got mine. It's that mentality that would, in that particular situation, where I could have been like, well, I got this. Yep. I'm just working this out. But I think that what happens a lot of times when people get married, they do not truly merge together. They do not realize,
in most cases,
they do not understand that whatever I do, whatever decisions I make, it affects my spouse, good, bad, or indifferent. And so I owe them, to know, I owe it to them to let them know what I'm doing, because it's going to affect them
one way or the other.
If I come home tomorrow and tell Glenn I quit my job,
which
I've done in the past,
y'all have to understand. That's why we got to have a part 2 and a part 3 to this conversation.
But I don't have that conversation with him before. Now, I could have legitimate reasons why I quit my job. I could have been telling him they're getting on my nerves,
they
whatever.
Disrespecting me.
The whole thing.
They messing with my money.
But if I don't have that conversation with him and we make that decision together, that has a direct effect on him. And I think oftentimes we will, usually in cases when the person is saying, well, I don't really see that as an issue, it's because they don't see how their decision has an impact on their
Right,
partner.
right,
They're
right.
just looking at, well, I got this. Okay, you got it for you,
Mm-hmm.
but you're not just a
But
you anymore.
we connected.
Right, you're not a you anymore.
This is a we.
You're a we, and so whatever
That's
decisions
right.
I
And it's
make,
not a
whatever
game.
choices I make, it has an effect on. Right.
You said you're a we,
I got
and it's not a game.
We not.
I'm sorry. The flamingo came out. I'm sorry.
And so when you don't realize in marriage, every decision, every choice that you make,
Every
it has a
single
direct
one.
effect on your spouse.
Absolutely.
And if you don't realize that and accept that, then you're going to have challenges going to line because you're going to be moving independently.
Yep.
And you can't move independently in a marriage when it comes to making decisions, when it comes to making choices, because everything you do has a direct effect on your spouse. So if your spouse decides they're not going to work or they're going to do whatever, it has an effect on you.
Do me a favor, guys. Put this in the chat. I can't, in a marriage, I can't move without it affecting her.
Right.
Or I can't move without it affecting him. Guys, listen. And Chris was talking about shagging. I don't know, was it ludicrous? When I move, you move, just like that, right? You get what I'm saying,
right.
guys?
It has an effect on that.
It
person.
has an effect, and I think that not identifying that or acknowledging that is really setting yourself up, guys. It's 8:45. We're gonna have to get ready to jump out of here. We've got some things going on, but Cherie, I really want people. Pam said, "Wow, this is liberating." Pam, listen, this is absolutely liberating because I think that unfortunately, we approach marriage, and I'll leave y'all with this. And Cherie, you said this a little bit ago. And I heard Keith Battle say this a while back, and it just is the truest thing I've ever heard. He said, when people get married, their money don't. Right? And what that premise to me says is that there are things within you as individuals that you want to keep to you. Mm-hmm. Your thought process. Sometimes that might be your finances. Sometimes that might be your friends. There are things that you come into a marriage or a relationship and you feel like, you know what? I don't want to lose. Right. And here's the language. I don't want to lose me. I don't want to lose my independence. Let me tell you something right now. If you're thinking like that, don't get married.
Right. When you get married, you're no longer independent.
Let me help you guys understand. It does. Listen, guys, please say that. Listen. God did not cause you to be codependent on one another. He did not cause you to be dependent on one another. Neither did he call you to be independent, because that's dangerous, particularly in marriage. But what you are interdependent.
That means you're intertwined.
That means you're intertwined. You're locked. It is y'all. Let's listen. And so because of that, because I'm in a lot, I can't just go just anywhere without it affecting the other one. Think of it as conjoined twins. Yep. Y'all are connected, man, on many levels. If you don't believe me, try and divorce each other and see
how easy that is.
See how easy that go. Try and just, try and say, well, I'm not going to claim my child from a previous marriage. I'm going to let him do it, and I'm going to pay that. Try that without saying nothing and see how that don't jam you up. Right. Because you're not having conversations. Now all of a sudden somebody filing for a kid and you done filed for them, but then
IRS coming to see somebody.
And they coming to see somebody.
Both of y'all can't. Somebody talking to you.
Wait a minute, hold up. Because y'all are connected. Right. So the point we making is you've got to have that conversation, y'all. Because if not, you will never move forward. And I'm going to submit. I can't wait till we start talking about this relative to singles.
Right.
Because this is where you get to say, we need to pump the brakes on this right here.
Because when you're single, you're independent.
And you are absolutely independent. You ain't enter nothing.
I don't have to check off with you. I'm single.
I know. Look. Now let me drink my coffee on that one.
We're not married. If you're not married, you're still single.
Hello. And so here's the deal.
So you get to make
decisions
on your own.
Relative to you, talking about, but what about how's that going to make it?
You can consider that person.
Sure, that's human. That's human nature.
You don't have to. You are not.
You get choices, and I need my single people to understand. We ain't even on y'all yet. This is not y'all week, but y'all done got a look. That one was for free. Listen, I need y'all. Appreciate that, Dana. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. Appreciate that, Suzanne. Appreciate that, Nikkei. Listen, appreciate that, Donnell. Listen, guys, I want y'all to understand this. All my single people, y'all stick around. Next week, probably the week after, we're going to begin getting more into you. We still have to get through these 5. We only got through 4. Number
Three.
one, we only got through 3. There are 5 things that you need to know when it comes to moving through trust issues and rebuilding it, particularly in a marriage. Number 1, we said it's knowing the details. Please get your facts and stop assuming. Number 2, release the anger. Understand that anger trapped is like a pressure cooker waiting to explode. And if you don't release it, it's going to be a problem later. And number 3, you have to show commitment, guys. And at this particular point, now
this falls on the person that violated.
Whoever is in violation
has to show commitment.
Listen, when the NFL called a penalty on the offensive line for offsides, they're not penalizing the defense for that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Offsides. Penalty on the offense, that'll be 15 yards
for the defense.
For the defense.
Right. Like, no.
Now,
they didn't do nothing.
If it's a false start, or if we start renaming the offense, okay, so it might be somebody else's problem. So I just want you guys to understand that showing that commitment starts with the person who's offended them. And we're going to go to 4 and 5. Y'all are funny.
Suzanne. SPB.
Listen.
Sheree Brooks Jr. That's right.
Right. I ain't messing with Suzanne Haley. Suzanne, listen, I ain't fooling with you. That's our silver fox right there, boy. She ain't be playing. Listen, guys, if you need help, stop trying to do life by yourself. And you're not in a community that is working specifically on helping you to build healthy relationships, whether you're married, whether you're parenting, whether you're dating or not, then please consider signing up to become a part of the MAPS Relationship Academy. Some of y'all live off these cliff notes, and you be over there trying to apply stuff, and you ain't got all the rules, and you got stuff all backwards, and it's getting worse. So listen, because Glenn and Cherie said you got to show commitment.
What that look like though?
How do you do that? We ain't told you that part.
They just said you supposed to.
I don't know. Just show it, because if you don't, I'm leaving. And that's what Coach Glenn.
That's what they said.
That's what Coach said. And I ain't never met you personally at all. You talking about I don't know your situation specifically. Right. You talking about that's what Coach said. Bruh, do me a favor. Stop living off cliff notes. Yeah. Stop living off of press clippings. Stop living off of sound bites. Get yourself some help. That's what I'm talking about, Dana. Get involved.
Right.
Because when you get involved in a community like this, there are benefits. There's a return on the investment, because it's going to cost you. Mm-hmm. It's cheaper than a cable bill. I will tell you that. But the truth of the matter is that it's worth. The return on that investment is priceless. I promise you.
And so if you are ready to invest in yourself, invest in your relationships, please go to www.thesierracoach.com. Sign up for a free discovery session where we'll talk with you, find out what your situation is, and see if we can add value to you. If we can't, we may refer you to someone else.
And we good for that.
Can't help everybody's situation.
Yeah, we good for that.
If we feel like we can add value to you and help you along your journey, we definitely would like the opportunity to be able to do that. And as always, we all need some help. Y'all have a great Saturday.
Y'all be good. We'll talk soon. If I can figure out where my clicker is to turn this off.
Close that window.
Why my mouse is tripping?
We got bloopers. Bloopers.
Stuff is everywhere. Bye, y'all.
Bye.